this was clearly not the plan. To be embarrassed, and I ain't living up to the standard that's apparent. No room for excuses, only improvements. But sit with me a moment before you jump to your conclusions on how we got here. We can start from the top, we can start with the sacks, we can start with the drops, we can start with the shots to a target that's draped. Regardless, let me talk about what's really at stake, and that's legacy. Trying to fill the role of the one that stood ahead of me. Whole city want the one took after me instead of me, and rightfully so, my homie like that. And let them tell it about me, I'ma be right back. Exchange my struggles for a rifle, that's a light pack. And I just smile and show humility despite that. Yeah. They think I'm soft, think I'm weak. My confidence is rooted in belief. They call me the one, I live for the hype. Now they tryna tell me that the choice isn't right. Tell me, did I lose it? Well, did I lose it? I gotta be myself, don't care what they say, cause I'm the only person that can stand in the way. Tell me, did I lose it? Well, did I lose it? Once there was a man on a journey, made some fatal mistakes in a hurry, sent away from all of his worries, like succeeding what many saw was Billy Graham in a jersey, to the abyss, until he reappeared proven worthy. That was me, so I know where you been. What kind of sort of the difference is that you think it, but I knew I was him. Knew I would smack the competition that blend. Knew I would change the Carolinas and the league before the laces would spin. And it wasn't easy. They brought me back after releases if they didn't need me. And then they got you, and respectfully the whole thing just feel like a waste. A press release about a trade they tried to play in my face. 7 years in the desert with no chance of escape. And a fan base that sees it as an utter disgrace. Just be patient with them, they don't deserve it. But it's on you, you gotta earn it. They call me the one, I live for the hype. Now they tryna tell me that the choice isn't right. Tell me, did I lose it? Well, did I lose it? I gotta be myself, don't care what they say, cause I'm the only person that can stand in the way. Tell me, did I lose it? Well, did I lose it? Yo, we made it, y'all. We made it. 3 days away. 2 days away, really. We finally made it. It's here. So many debates. So many mocks. We're going to do the last one today. This is it. It's early, I know. I get it. Keep the applause coming. Not for me. For y'all. 2 days away. And we finally get to see if any of us was right. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw a tweet yesterday. Shout out to them boys for Panther fans only. Man, I was laughing all day off of this tweet. I ain't gonna pull it up right now, but the homie said he was basically like, you know, writing the eulogy, like if we drafted a specific player. And I've been seeing a lot of people say this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's been mad people talking about their disdain for what Todd McShay, you know, was saying. And look, I ain't no expert, man. I just listen to y'all. But I just know this. I know that, bro, if we draft Mikael Williams, some of y'all gonna go crazy. And I can't wait to see it. So salute to y'all. Salute to my dog, Doug. What up, Doug? What up, Maul? Palmetto Panther. What up? I know it's early in the morning, man. I'm just I'm just grateful, man. Gratitude. That's all. But let's go ahead and get to it. All right. So I want to start off with this. I saw something, and I typically like to plan a lot of the things that I talk about. Like, I don't like to just shoot from the hip. A lot of my commentary is improv, right? And I'm sure most of you guys know that. But every now and again, I'll see something that's just super cool, and I'm like, you know what? I got to talk about this because it's something that, to me, deserves its flowers. So I happened to run across something this morning, and this is from Ricky Reigns. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Ricky, but he has a YouTube channel with another very popular Carolina Panther personality named Edgar Salamino, I believe. Maybe saying that wrong. Forgive me if I am. But he put out a Carolina Panther draft guide, and man, this is fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating. And so I'm not going to go like through extreme detail of it, but what I wanted to do more than anything is, like I said, it's a day of gratitude. So I want to show my love and support, man, for this hard work. You know, I saw this reposted a couple of times, and man, and I went and looked at it, and I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. And it really is like a comprehensive look, you know, into the Carolina Panthers in the same way that you would get like the draft guide from PFF. And the detail of this needs to be talked about because there's a lot of work and man hours put into something that we get for free. So Ricky, if you listening, man, look, thank you. This is amazing. Edgar, thank you. Thank you for what you guys do. I know you and I have talked in DMs about linking up. You know, it's been a little bit of stuff going on with me and health and all that kind of stuff, man. But I promise you we're going to get to it. Probably a little too late in the process right now to do it, but definitely after the draft because, one of the smartest minds in this space. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all get a chance, man, check this thing out. I mean, it's just chock full of you're talking about 273 pages of just comprehensive data. You know what I'm saying? Data is the new oil, right? And so you've got a lot of different, scenarios here, trade scenarios, all kind of different things, man. Interest tracker, visits, all that kind of stuff, man. So I think this is going to be something that's groundbreaking moving forward. And more importantly, I hope the team themselves see this. And I hope y'all push it enough for the team to see this and be like, hey, this is something that we need to highlight and possibly even link up with these content creators on, man. I'm telling you, independent media is running this space, man. When it comes, I don't know if y'all realize this, right? I'm sure a lot of y'all do. When it comes to the Carolina Panthers specifically, man, we're not a national media darling. You know what I'm saying? I heard just talking about another team, and I was like, yo, I feel the pain of what could be the situation here, right? So I heard Pac-Man Jones talking about the potential for, he got sources talking about how Trevor Lawrence might be traded in order for Jacksonville to get Shedeur Sanders. Because one thing we forget about, man, it's still a business. Wherever he go, he going to draw tickets and draw interest. Way more than even a Trevor Lawrence would. No matter if Trevor Lawrence was even successful. Which I think that, bad offensive line, you can name the, situations that lead into why a player is not ultimately successful, especially like he saw when he was in college. But regardless, the fact that they're even talking about that is nuts. You know what I'm saying? And for us, we don't really get that media coverage like that. We did in the Cam days, but they would do it reluctantly because a lot of people, Cam had that kind of, people had a love-hate relationship with him. You know what I'm saying? From a media perspective. So, yeah, man, it's us. So seeing something like this is really important, really dope. And like I said, Rick, salute to y'all, man. Hey, keep doing this good work. Anyway, man, I want to acknowledge some people in the chat real quick. Shout out to my guy. That's my dog right there, Low. What up? Ricky Rain. Hey, I'm glad you hear that, man. I'm glad you're hearing the flowers, man, because yeah, you deserve that, bro. You and Ed, y'all deserve that. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Space, Trizzy. Shout out to Doug already, Palmetto Panther, Maul. Man, look, now we about to get to it. So like I said, I ain't no expert, man. I just like to stout, my opinions just like everybody else. I just talk my little ish like everybody else. Y'all know. So I was looking at something. I saw something, a tweet that I found really interesting. And I know that this isn't a possibility, and most of y'all would probably push back on this, but I wanted to just show it anyway. And it was this opportunity that potentially could be for Shedeur Sanders to be drafted by Pittsburgh at 8th overall by trading TJ Watt to us for the 8th. And at first, pardon me, when I saw this, I was thinking like, all right, well, they get the 8th, we get the 21st, and I'm sure there'd probably be a few more, picks in the process or whatever. But then I started reading this tweet some more, and I'm like, wait a minute. Number 8th overall plus a 2025 third round pick, this year's pick, and then they get to keep 21? Man, is you crazy? Like, now I wouldn't necessarily give up a third, especially, don't get me wrong. TJ Watt is TJ Watt. Like, I ain't tripping, right? And this is the only reason that I really started deeply thinking about this is because of the production and because of something else. But anyway, let's just talk about this portion of it first. Like, in my opinion, if it didn't cost us having to come out of the first round completely, and I know most people would probably push back on this, and a lot of that is because of TJ Watt's age. But I think it would be a win-win for Carolina and for Pittsburgh, because they're going to be in like just absolute purgatory, if you will, not having a quarterback. Mike Tomlin got all these winning seasons. I feel like Mike Tomlin gets hated on a lot, but he's really the version of what Andy Reid used to be with Philly. Like, Andy was just kind of going through the motions with Donovan McNabb, and, they finally got T.O., and they were able to get over the hump and then got to the Super Bowl and lost, to what became eventually the Patriots dynasty, right? But, like, it was just a conveyor belt of just, like, winning season after winning season, 5 NFC championship appearances. I think they faced us twice, if I'm not mistaken. We got them one time, they got us, right? But, like, it's just a consistent conveyor belt of, like, yeah, we good enough, but we just not over the hump. And I'm not saying that Shedeur is Patrick Mahomes for Mike Tomlin. But what I am saying is that if you really believe in what he is, hey, man, crazier things have happened. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, for us, though, like, if we get to keep 21, I feel like this is one of those drafts that's so deep with specific positions, edge being one of them. There's a lot of guys that could benefit from a guy like TJ Watt being in front of them. Not necessarily from a mentorship perspective, because I know people will be like, yo, well, you could look at Adam Thielen and say, like, well, from a mentorship perspective, like, Adam Thielen has been paramount for a role that he has started to embrace. Andy Dalton has been paramount for a role that he started to embrace. Because I'm old enough to remember Dalton being like, hey, man, when he was with Justin Fields, I ain't here to be no backup. You know what I'm saying? But, like, Bryce is a different kind of person, I guess, and it's a different circumstance. Like, I think he understands, like, yo, I'm in the league, and I'm staying in the league because they kind of needed me, right? But I'm not, like, it ain't a whole lot of huge market out there, you know what I'm saying, for the Daltons of the world, right? And salute to Dalton, no shots. But the point is that a guy like this in front of young guys, developing guys, maybe someone in later rounds, a Jared Ivey, Ashton Gelati, you know what I'm saying, or Shamar Turner, you know what I'm saying? These kind of guys could not just learn from, like, how to be a pro, because that's the pro stuff off the field, like, that's just character development. Like, you're going to have mad people that'll be able to teach you that. But with Watt, it would be like, yo, you get to see it up close and personal, right? People will raise their level of play by the ceiling being raised from people around them. You know what I'm saying? And you talking about somebody that's going to put up crazy numbers, the pressure numbers, the sacks, insane over a long period of time. And I understand the age is a factor. I get it. But he still posted 12 last year. He still posted 20 in 2023. 2022 was a bit of a down year, but man, we go back to 21. That's crazy production. He would become what many of us thought someone that we once upon a time drafted to be. Or he is. Not he would become, he is. But he would be that for us, right? And I just think that would be invaluable, man. And like I said, I know he's older. I get it. But he's a force multiplier. Now, if you're Pittsburgh, there ain't no way I'm letting him go. Not a chance, right? Because you're not going to be able to just instantly replace that production. But you also have to weigh the possibility that, like, yo, we could just have another winning season and be 500 in a division with quarterback, because that's what we're looking at. Every team except one has a quarterback, and they have a chance to do it this year if they decide to do it at number 3. Cleveland does, or they're number 2 or 3, whatever. They got a chance to do it this year if they choose to, go the Shedeur route or anywhere else, or hoping against hope, somehow Deshaun Watson finds himself again. Pause. Right? So there's opportunity there for even them to get better. So now you looking up like, well, we ain't got Fields and we don't have Russell anymore. So what are we doing? So to me, this makes perfect sense. Or a Dart. I personally believe that Jackson Dart, I don't even think it's a fair comparison. I don't think Jackson Dart is in Shedeur Sanders' class, personally, respectfully. But, man, if this could work out, y'all let me know what y'all think. But personally, I ain't gonna lie. This would be one of those ones that would just be like, man, like, Lord, thank you. Finally us. Because, boy, it's been a lot of not us. A whole lot of not us. But thank you. Finally us. Would be crazy. Tyler Jones says, I like that, Chris. Not sure what that means. Cheetah said, do you believe Jalen Walker is the best decision for the Carolina Panthers? We'll talk about that in just a few moments. Let's keep going up. Let's see. Chris Dillard said, I saw someone say trade back with Detroit and have Jameson Williams in the trade. I could see that. I've been seeing a lot of that moving around. What would the contract be? 4 years? I'm not sure. And I'll be honest with you, quite frankly, if they can make the money work, I don't care. Give him what he wants. Short of a guy that wore number 43, Hassan Reddick, have we seen anything remotely close to any kind of production? We ain't even seen anything close to that down year that TJ Watt had. We haven't. And I ain't talking about flashing. I'm talking about consistently. Just haven't. Just keeping it a buck. Shannon Bass, big dog, good to see you too. Appreciate you. Yeah, I've been MIA a little bit. Been a little sick, but I had to come back through. Come back. All right, so like I said, Lo said I need that 21st pick if we're going to move forward. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I'm not doing it if I'm not keeping my 21st. The other draft compensation, we got a lot of picks in this draft, so I'm not like, I wouldn't like trip off of, maybe a third or something like that. Here's what I wouldn't also want to lose. I wouldn't want to lose that second. There's such a gap between where we pick, right, from 21, even if we move to 21, all the way to 57, I got to have something that matters, right? The matter is TJ. But I'm not giving up that 21st pick as well. No, I'm not getting fleeced like that. Not happening. So, anyway, all right. So, I'm going to move forward. We're going to go straight to the draft. I'm excited. I've been seeing all the rumors that y'all been seeing, man. Like I said earlier, I laughed at, I think it's Dylan that runs the for Panther Fans Only account. One of my Asheville brethren. And, man, when I think he posted something that one of their hosts, their hosts are hilarious, by the way, man. If y'all ain't watched them, man, like, go check them out, man. That's a really good show. It is a really well-produced, good show. A lot of good commentary. Like, shout out to Panther Fans Only, man. And I lost, too. Lost the draft. I was hyped. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, I know a lot of y'all in the mock draft. I think Doug, you might have moved forward for all I know. But, like, they had this really cool thing, this like content creator or like, personality, not even just content creator, just people in general, mock draft. And I really didn't know what to expect at first. I didn't realize it was going to be like bracket worthy. And so like I drug my feet. I had been real busy. Like I said, just been dealing with some health issues, stuff like that, and drug my feet forever. So I finally turned it in and like, won the first round. A salute to the, the person I faced the first round. And then like me and the Twitter, like giant Bland, you know what I'm saying, was like battling back and forth. And then I end up losing like I guess in the last minute, because he like texted me, he's like, yo, rock, paper, or scissors. I'm like, oh, it's like that? Like, yeah, man, it's coming down to the wire. So salute to Bland. But like, when I saw that tweet from him, man, that was crazy. They're basically talking about like, yo, they getting ready to jump off platform if we draft Mikael Williams. And I thought that was nuts. But anyway, like I said, salute to them boys. But gonna get to this draft. But first,
got to pay some bills real quick. I know it's early in the process, but I do kind of want to get this out of the way because, they're taking care of your boy nowadays. So give me about 1 minute. I'll be right back, and we're going to run it. Let's go. Hey, what's up, guys? It's John Farmer. And what's the one thing that causes more frustrations for sports fans while watching your favorite game? Penalties. These flags have the ability to alter the outcome of games, keeping you out of the playoffs, or possibly worse, winning a Super Bowl, which leaves us feeling helpless and voiceless. Well, not any longer. Introducing Penalty Verdict, the ultimate penalty voting experience. With Penalty Verdict, you can vote on penalty calls in real time on both NFL and college football games. Engage with a community of football fans who desire fair play and accountability, and unlock the next dimension of sports by engaging with real-time polling referees, players, and teams. Penalty Verdict is in the developmental stages and would love to hear from you. What features would you like to see on the app for the upcoming football season? Make sure to go to penaltyverdict.com, sign up to join the mailing list, and give your information and your feedback for the upcoming football season. Look, this is going to be an absolutely revolutionary app for us to be able to vote in real time. I love this. Penaltyverdict.com, join the waiting list, wait for the revolution to begin. Yeah, man, you guys saw that. That's a Penalty Verdict. It's a really, really cool thing that I came across actually they, kind of reached out to me via a marketing agency that I am connected with. And I think this is going to be really something that is probably going to blow up much bigger than even I think it is. Like, because there's really never been anything like it. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to like vote in real time on like flags, is super cool. Like, and I think the thing I like about it the most is that this data, it's usually data. Like I was talking about Ricky's data earlier, how what they've done with their draft guide is going to help the content creation space even more, right? And this kind of data is going to be what can potentially. Now, I'm not saying that, we would have any kind of real strong impact, but say, for example, like, I know there used to be like a referee named Jeff Triplett, right? And I think his son is one of the referees now. And like Jeff Triplett was one of those guys like that they would intentionally put like, yo, you are doing Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, AFC Championship, you're doing Super Bowl, all this kind of stuff, or Ed Hockley or guys like that. Like these guys get put in place because of the analytics that they look at to see how they call games. So if they start looking at data like this on Penalty Verdict, then some of your referees that you can't stand, you start learning them by name, or, they start seeing like a trend like, yo, when you're on the field, we're starting to see like X, Y, and Z. So maybe we need to do something because there's just been some egregious calls. I mean, I don't like Boston at all, the Boston Celtics, but I was watching something the other day where Jason Tatum got like, I guess there was a foul on him or something like that wasn't really a foul or something I was seeing, and it was just something crazy. So like in real time, you would be able to vote on that and, have a community of people that would be talking trash at the same time, man. And like, look, and I know it's going to be biased. Like you're going to have on a certain game, of course, we play in Atlanta. If Atlanta get a PI and Atlanta people think it's not a PI, we're going to be celebrating and vice versa. Right? But they can still use the cumulative data to be able to make informed decisions and put the right people in the right places. So if you get a chance, go to penaltyverdict.com. Just click the waiting list. They're going to be coming out with the app really soon. Penaltyverdict.com so you can take a look at what this is going to be, and it's going to be really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, I had no idea that I would be the face of the penalty police, but I'm down. I'm down. Anyway, so getting right to it. I think the draft is going to be a lot of fun. I do think that there's going to be a lot of surprises at the top of this draft. And then I think like after the fact, it's just going to be, I don't think you're going to see as much moving around in trades as you would in previous years. I can remember, I want to say it was back in 2022. We moved around a lot. I think we ended up with like, I want to say we had, at one point, we started out with like 7 or 8 picks and ended up with 11. Scott Fitter was moving around like crazy. A lot of those players didn't turn into a whole lot much. Some of them you could say didn't really necessarily get a fair shake. I would say someone like TMJ didn't necessarily get a fair chance at like solid development, right? That's my take. But guys like Brady Christensen panned out. He's been a great, rotational piece. I'm glad they were able to retain him. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard panned out. And I know it's easy to look at what we saw as far as the, situation with the long snapper and, all that kind of stuff. But that was a pretty solid draft. J.C. Horn, like I said, Brady Christensen, Chuba Hubbard. I think Amari Barno might have been a part of that draft. Somebody who didn't necessarily turn into a great player, but I think he was just kind of plagued by injuries. Deontay, I always get his last name wrong, but the kid from Alabama that we all thought, could be something. I think he was in that draft. So they were able to turn and flip a lot of picks. Now, this year we coming in with 11, I believe. And when I do this mock draft myself, I'm not going to change any of these picks. So let's see, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So, wait, I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 picks. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do any trades in this. I'm just going to go straight from 8 to 57, 74, 111, and so on and so forth. And I'm also just going to pick based on my final belief in what I personally believe and what I would personally do. Not necessarily what the field says, because we all know what the field says. Somebody asked the question earlier. I'm going to answer it. So let's go ahead and start the draft. So here we go. All right. Going back and recapping what we saw picked. Cam Ward was obviously picked first. That's the consensus. Ashton Genty. Man, that's crazy. Picked by Cleveland, number 2. Abdul Carter, number 3 to New York. Travis went to New England. Ted went to, the Jaguars. Mason Graham went to the Raiders. And then Shedeur Sanders went to the Jets. Man, this is crazy. And, of course, I'm not going to start this over. I am not going to start this over. And I'm only going to do one mock draft because I'm in and out of here. But I ain't going to lie, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I was going to pick Ted. Now, I got a secondary option, but I was going to pick Ted. And this is why. So I went back and forth a lot, and someone asked me, was Jalen Walker the best pick for the Panthers? I've said this before on another video. I don't know the real answer to that question. I think he might be the right pick. The best pick, I don't know. Because I could see if they decided to go Mikael Williams, for example. There's an argument to be made for, maybe he was playing a little injured. I saw a quote earlier today from someone else that said that, and this was from someone from Georgia, another player, that was talking about how, man, this dude is fierce, a beast, all the adjectives you can think of, right? And he was a dog on that defense. So you're betting on, and it's not like, look, we're not talking about the worst overall production ever, right? I would say if they were thinking like someone like Shamar Stewart, then that would be I'd probably have a problem with that personally. Because I think Shamar can be great, but one of the things that I saw someone say about him that I thought was interesting, and it kind of showed up on tape a little bit, is finish. And if y'all don't like what you saw over the last, 5 seasons prior from who, sometime not necessarily finishing plays, what are you going to love about that? Respectfully. You're not. You know what I'm saying? And maybe Mikael's different in that regard. I would say Jalen is different in that regard. My only question with Jalen would just be, man, I've said this before. You can move. I mean, I guess you can move somebody around. Like, the way that defenses are played, nowadays you can move people in different positions. But, is our biggest need an edge, like a dedicated edge, right? Somebody that's going to always be there. Is he going to be always that? That would be my question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I know that I've seen him be great in multiple different positions. I also know that for NFL standards, for edge, he's undersized. So is it possible that he gets here? And to me, I think about, I've said this before, Zach Bond. Zach Bond was kind of an afterthought in New Orleans for a number of years. And I don't know that he was ever really tried at off-ball linebacker, right? But I know that he spent some time at edge or whatever. And he goes to Philly, and, I mean, he's pretty much an all-pro in one season. Gets a huge contract, wins a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, you got to keep it up. It's got to be more than one season. But look at what that change done for him. We seen that in our own, we saw Thomas Davis move from safety to linebacker. Look at what that change did for him. And so if Jalen comes in here and you identify and say, okay, look, as an edge, he can give us some production, right? And in rotation, give us some great production. But, man, did you see what he did off ball? You see that closing speed? man, you see the instincts. My only, I guess, issue with that is like, well, now who you got to pull snaps away from somebody? Like, who knows what kind of offseason Trevin Wallace has had, or Jacoby Wyndham, And I'm not saying like, look, you're talking about a 3rd round pick and a guy that I don't think he was drafted, but they showed some flash, if you will, last year. I like to see what guys having an offseason look like. Sometimes we forget that, man. We really do. And I know people don't like to hear that, but it's just the truth. Josh Norman was not what Josh Norman was the year that we, went to the Super Bowl, or even the year prior. Like, Josh Norman showed some flashes a couple of years prior to that. But he wasn't that off the rip. It took an offseason of development for him to become what he became. It took a couple of seasons of development for Cam to become what he ultimately became. I understand the first season that he had. And yeah, you can make an argument, well, if you lose Shockey and, all these, of course, you lose, some of your offensive line pieces, of course, right? But what he became that first winning season, then going into that next season 7-8-1, then coming in 15-1 was a far cry from what it looked like his sophomore season. So at some point you do have to, now you always need to improve the roster, but you got to give people time to develop. That brings me to Ted. Who on this roster, if we just going off of real, we just talking real, who on this roster has done consistently over a number of seasons? I'm not talking about just one season in college. That highlight. All right, yeah. 702 yards his first season. 1,300 the previous. 1,300 last year. And even in the one thing that I like more than anything else on this is the yards per reception. 18, 15-5, 15-7. Willing after the catch. Big time catch radius. Yes, you are betting on the traits. And I understand people say, the comp I hear all the time is Drake London. It's only that in body type. This kid is not Drake London. Well, I should say opposite. Drake London is not this kid. Drake London don't have the kind of agility that this kid has. What this kid has and he possesses, and it's funny that PFF just mocked him, because I literally, before I jumped on here, I did like 5 mock drafts, and he was there for us every single time. And lo and behold, I had just read a tweet before I went live talking about how Jacksonville was high on Ted McMillan. And here we go. So, do I know that this is how it lands? I don't know. But I do think that a lot of people are throwing smoke screens on this kid. I think there's a possibility he goes higher than even we think, possibly there with, Jacksonville, possibly to the Raiders, possibly to New England, right? But regardless, if he's there at 8, there is not a chance I'm passing on him. Why? Because if he hits, I would think that the floor of him is still enough to help push this offense forward with just contested catches alone. Red zone opportunity, or maybe some drags, maybe some boundary, stuff. But man, if he hits, y'all, we have seen what if he hits look like in our division for the last 10 years. I don't know about y'all, but if we got a chance at that, I want it. I do. Who am I talking about? Y'all know, Mike. Who else? A lot of similarities in them profiles coming out. A lot of similarities. McMillan was a multi-sport star in high school, excelling in football, basketball, and volleyball. Coordination and strength allow him to maximize his entire catch radius, to haul in a high rate of passes. He doesn't make many false steps. Smooth, quick out of his release. Has good route running IQ. Can lengthen or shorten routes. Breaks depending on coverage. But his routes tend to be more rounded than sharp due to his long frame. That's all right. He's more of a smooth than explosive route runner in his movements, but he knows how to squeeze out, pause, extra separation. That's been one of those things. Even I said that early on, right? But what didn't it stop? It didn't stop. Hang on, my bad. It didn't stop this. It didn't stop 15-5. It didn't stop a 60% contested catch rate. 89 PFF grade versus man coverage. If you can't win on the boundary man-to-man in the NFL, press man, then you won't succeed. And he got an 89 rate in college. I don't care who he's playing against. Who did T.O. play against? Miss me with that. Anyway, let me read some of the chat. Palmetto Panther said, we just had the worst defense in history. We ain't drafting Tet, might get Jalen Lane from Virginia. I don't care about that. You can build a defense. You cannot find this guy. Go find me in any draft. Like, look, Jaden Higgins is a consolation prize, sure, but he ain't this. Reminds me more of A.J. Green than Drake London. I can see that. Jamel Progression says, yeah, you cooking. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Not at 8, but in a trade back scenario, maybe. Pop, what up? Man, I ain't seen you in a minute, dog. What's going on? But, yeah, I mean, I understand a lot of y'all's not. Hold on. We got pushback. Sam DeShield said, not a fan of Ted at all. The volleyball receivers aren't elite anymore because of separation. Let Lee get, cook or develop, draft Walker or Williams. I would say, as a pushback to that, the reason it's not is because you don't see it a lot. There is nobody that look, Sam, who else fits this profile in this draft or possibly previous? Not many. There's not a lot of people with this body type. And look, you're betting on everybody, man. And I know we had the worst defense. I get that. There's arguments and context to be made for why that happened, right? There's always going to be that. Injuries, especially when it's this bad, you can't objectively look at what this defense was and walk away and say that injuries can't be factored into the reason why. Roster development, admission to the fact that they didn't pay a lot of attention to it the previous years, right? From the current GM, who was not the GM the previous years, right? So in a draft that's deep and rich with defensive talent, why not take a chance on somebody like, look, when you get to, I heard somebody say that, I think this might have been Adam Schefter that said this. Adam Schefter said that once you get past like pick number 8 to 9, right, which is around our spot, pretty much everything after that is kind of all lumped together. Pause. But I would not be opposed, and I thought about this when I was in my previous mocks before I'm doing this, drafting Tet. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to like taking Tet and then trying to work our way back up a little higher in the second, possibly even back into the first, you know? Look at what Houston did when they took C.J. Stroud and were aggressive and came right back up and took Will Anderson. Super aggressive. It worked for them. Why couldn't it work for us? Why can't two things be true, right? Ted McMillan down the field, separate him. All I need to see is one time. I need to see it one time for that safety to get scared and double up on him. And all the things that you want, Sam DeShields, that I want, guys like Leggett and Coker developing, that's only going to help them even more. What Leggett was in college for that 1 year, this guy done consistently, right? Now, granted, some of Leggett's was because of family issues. Some of it was because of injury from a motorcycle accident. But regardless, it was indeed a 1 year thing. So we knew coming in, I've said this before, I'll say it again. We knew coming in that the Leggett thing was a developmental situation. And to me, what ruined that was the guy that we brought in thinking we was going to make him an X and a guy that was going to be a developmental help to Xavier Leggett and Deontay Johnson, and it flamed out. So now you got a chance to do it over again. That's my only point. But hey, I'm also not opposed to the defensive situation. So, salute. Palmetto Panther said defense wins championships and we ain't got one as of right now. I would agree and disagree. I think that we can develop. I mean, okay, let me move forward because I can get hung up on this. But yeah, I'll get hung up on this. So my next step would just be, like I said, I'm not moving at all. My next step would probably be BPA. Now, I know a lot of people are high on Walter Nolan. I wouldn't necessarily be at this point. I know a lot of people are high on the Jalen Walker situation. I'm cool with that as well. But personally, I think that I probably would take somebody who's more dedicated at their position, and I probably would go Mike Green right here. I like Mike Green. I don't know what this whole situation is about with his with all the SA stuff. I hope that it's not true. You know what I'm saying? But hope that he's exonerated. But it's hard to unsee some of the stuff he did. So, I mean, the guy that's above him right here, we all saw what he did to him in the Senior Bowl. And then we matched that with what we saw him do against Ohio State. And then we matched that with all the other sacks that he had throughout the year, right? So this is probably the direction I'm going. A lot of consistency, like a 20% pass rush win rate. So, yeah, keeping it simple. I'm bringing in somebody, hey, this is a guy, hand in the dirt. Soon as the ball snaps, go get him. Nothing more, nothing less. Maybe a little bit of drop back in coverage when you need him to, but him in rotation, like if y'all's issue is defense, closing, pass rush, all that kind of stuff, I don't see how you can lose here. So, Dan's whole thing about being stuck at 8, quote unquote, like I said, I'm not moving down. I've done that. When I traded out, I traded with Dallas. I drafted Donovan Ezeraku. This to me is just kind of a similar situation. So, you know what? With the 8th pick, the Carolina Panthers pick, Mike Green. Fantastic. All right. Now we got a whole lot of ways to go before we get to the next pick. My goodness. All right. So we're just going to look at a couple of players that were taken. Jalen Noel's off the board. That was higher than it was the last draft. Princely is off the board. TJ Sanders. That's a bit of a surprise. But, a good pro day will do that for you. Maxwell Harrison, he was on the board the last time. He's not there. JT was still on the board. He's not there. A little surprised about Landon Jackson going that high and Jack Betch as well, but not too surprised. I'm surprised that James Pierce Jr., with a pick that we traded, Chicago, went to the Chicago Bears. Nick Scorton, I've been seeing a lot of positives about him. Travion Henderson, I think he's a guy that might sneak into the first round in this draft. So next, I personally would want to address the safety position. I think we're getting Trayvon Moehrig and someone that can play inside the box. My next deal would probably be safety. So we're going to go take a look at the corners. Let's get off of that. Let's see. There we go. Safety. And, yeah, this one probably be pretty easy for me. This would be Andrew Makuba is who I had. Now, there's another safety that I really like, but I think he's already off the board, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So there's a safety from Penn State. Kevin Jr., Kevin something Jr., what's his last name? Kevin Winston Jr., there he is. I really like this kid. He is a product of, and probably would be a first-round pick if not for injury. Super athletic, has a eye for the ball. Like, I don't know that I would see him going that high because I think the injury thing is a fear. And one thing I won't do in my mock, and I'm sure the Carolina Panthers have no desire to do at all, so I won't even hurt y'all's feelings with this today. I am not going to take in my mock somebody that was, hurt coming off of what we did last year, taking a really highly productive guy who we don't know if it is going to have a career at all after a second ACL injury, a non-contact one at that. And I hope he gets better. I really do, because I think Brooks, man, I was watching a highlight the other day. I think Bland had posted the highlight of that, little kind of pass that swing pass that Bryce threw to him, and he took it for like 15 yards against Tampa. It's just like, you can see, like, for years we saw that being done to us with Alvin Kamara, and I feel like we have our potential version of that. Or, I know some people comp him to my man Le'Veon Bell from the Steelers. So yeah, I'd like to have that on our side, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, in this situation, I'm gonna take Andrew Makuba because I think that's a pretty simple one. I mean, kind of similar analysis, but the main thing is his ability to play in open space, and I think that's important. Plus, he's a Clemson guy, a former Clemson guy, and we don't take a lot of those. We got a lot of Whole lot of South Carolina guys, but not a lot of Clemson guys or whatever. But, one thing he does kind of lack in, according to the analysts here, is his run defense. I do think that's important. I do think it's really important, but not important enough for me to not take a swing at it, right? Because I feel like you have another safety that can kind of help in that department. J.C. Horn's really good in that department. And I do think another thing is that, development, man. You get to the NFL, you start to – a lot of these guys, like, man, you don't start really growing into your body as a man, until you're like 23, 24-ish. You know what I'm saying? So these dudes will get bigger. They'll get stronger. They'll get faster. You're just kind of betting on the traits. And this is one of those traits that I would love to bet on personally. So I'm going to cover the safety position. So here we go. Let's draft Andrew McCullough. All right. Now down to 74. But I'm going to stop right here just to see what you guys have thought of the picks that have been made so far. So, Palmetto Panthers, I don't know if that's I'm killing this draft as far as a good or a bad thing. I would say I don't know, but salute either way. I was like Watts. Yeah, I mocked Watts in one of mine as well from before. Doug, yeah, you talked about it, man, with Kevin, the injury, situation. Yeah. And yeah, I know Palmetto, even with the allegations, man, like, I know it's a lot to look over, but I don't see no guilty verdict, man. I ain't seen the gavel. I don't see the gavel slammed. Look, none of that. So hey, I'm rolling. Oh, okay. That's an old comment. Either way. Hey, man, we got 107 people watching between two platforms, man. Make sure y'all smash the like button. If you're on X, watching me on X, I am the One Carolina Show on YouTube. So feel free to come over and subscribe. I do think that I'm going to go live for a little bit on draft night. Probably even drop the link to have a few people in just to, talk, just to enjoy the night. But, yeah, we'll see. Oh, good thing. Okay, cool. My man. Mike Ricks, what's up, man? Makuba is my guy. Great pick. I appreciate that. All right. So moving right along. My next is going to be, and I got one pick in here that's going to be a little bit controversial, but we'll get back to that in just a second. So, are we frozen? What's going on? Okay, here we go. Omar Norman Lott. Nope, didn't. That's not who I plan to take. I thought I was frozen there for a minute. My bad, y'all. All right, anyway. So, next on my board was going to be probably something that most people would say was a bit overdrafted, maybe. But I think it's extremely important. If you're going to keep your young quarterback upright and you want him to continue in his development, you've got to continue to develop players and have high-level players behind him. For years, we saw the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees consistently have offensive interior linemen that were extremely productive, right? So for me, I know this might be a little high in the third round to go with a center, but I do think it's important. And I like what I've seen from Georgia over the last few years in their running game. Someone like Trevor Etienne, who on some accounts probably wouldn't be drafted too high, but you could say that because of the opportunities that he had, he's going to get drafted, right? And a lot of that comes from the fact that he runs behind a really, really willing and good offensive line. Now, in this situation, like I said, I do think for as good as what we saw from Bryce Young at the end of the season last season, that Atlanta game showed a few things that I loved. Number one, Bryce's willingness to run. Like if the play breaks down, if it's not there, I'm taking off. I can do both, right? So if you have him as a threat to do that, and in addition to that, you have the two running backs, right? Rico Dowdle, Asheville native, salute, and Chuba Hubbard. You got an opportunity to build something special. And we're not done with running back, obviously. Brought back Raheem Blackshear, but I don't think he's going to play a dominant role. I do think that they're probably going to draft a running back somewhere here, right, in the draft. But it's probably going to be later rounds. Maybe. But then again, with what we did bringing in Rico, they may not, see a need in that. But in my opinion, this is one I'm taking You got SEC, potential here, SEC guy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to fill the center position here because I want to make sure to keep my young quarterback protected and just continue that conveyor belt. If it's one position, and we've been known from this over the years, right? In our past, we were known as linebacker, central, right? So we always had linebackers on the roster, guys that might not necessarily have had a lot of burn here, like AJ Klein or Mayo, but were developed, under someone like Kuechly, right? So if you got a really good unit in place right now, why not take what is considered a high-ranking player at a position that you want to continue to keep developing. So on this one, I know some might be like, yo, that's a bit of a reach, but that's where I'm going. I'm taking Jarrett Wilson. All right. So we're coming back to pick 111. Now the next one, hopefully my guy is still here. All right. Now we talked about running back, Devin Neal. That's a guy that I would strongly consider. We saw what Devin Neal was able to do. What Devin Neal did against Colorado was crazy, but he's been basically doing that all year. I'm not taking a running back at 4th right here. There's a guy that I'm looking for specifically and for a specific reason. So I'm going to go see if he is available right now. So let me go down here just a little bit. Defensive interior. Let's see. Joshua Farmer, Aeneas Peebles. That's one that I was looking at as well. And it looks like one of my guys is here and the other one is not. Okay. So I know a lot of people that know me that have seen all of my mock drafts know that there's one guy in particular that I draft every single time. Actually, 2 guys. One of them's here, and that's Deion Walker. I like the traits. I love the space-eating ability, right? Like, you need this. You need dogs in the interior. You need just massive guys that are strong, that can move people out of the way. You know what I'm saying? So to get to where they need to get to. Amen. I like your running back there. Pause. But I'm going to smash him. Move. Excuse me. It's either going to be me or this linebacker behind me, right? There's a guy that I think got drafted already who I've kind of become my draft crush, and there he is, Cameron Jackson. So that's the guy that I kind of wanted, so I missed out on him on this draft. Like I said, my last draft was fire. This one's been, pretty good so far, but this is the guy I wanted. And I know the pass rush grade isn't there, the true pass rush set, and it's a chance that he probably will still be there, right? And if I'm not mistaken, Doug, you can correct me on this. I believe Cameron Jackson was one of those guys that came for a visit, right? But run defense, man. Run defense. Run stop rate in the top percentile, the 90th percentile in run stop rate, the 80th percentile in, run defense. And he's just a space eater. That's what you want. Guys that move guys out of the way so that your linebackers can operate in space. That's exactly what you want. So because he's not there, my consolation prize is Deion. So I'm going to take Deion again because I've done that in every mock draft that I'm done. I don't care where he's ranked as far as his grade. So that's who I'm taking. Deion Walker. All right, next up, I'm probably going to address corner here. There's a corner that I really love. Don't know if he's still on the board or not, but he is. So that would be either one of these guys. I really like Mello Dotson, but Kobe Bryant is probably somebody I would tend to go after a little bit more. Another run defensive guy, right? But for this, Kobe obviously and Mello both can play the outside position. This is where I would probably, like I said, go to you, hey, man, would you be opposed to trying yourself out in nickel? Just to see how it goes. And I think that if you do that and you shore up that position there, that's another part of your defense that has a huge need. And you put someone there that obviously can develop to eventually possibly take over for Mike Jackson on the outside or become an absolute rock star as a nickel and may want to stay there because he became a change. We remember Captain Munderland saying that. If y'all remember my interview with Cap said, hey, Ron Rivera came to me. When I came from South Carolina, I was an outside corner. He came and sat, next to me. Hey, look, I'll make you a nickel, dog. I'll make you a lot of money. You become a nickel, I'll make you a nickel, right? Make a lot of nickels. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what happened. He got paid with us. He got paid with Minnesota. And then came back to us again and got paid. Got paid by Buffalo. Had a really good career, a really great career, right? Because of one coach coming to him asking him to make a move. So, yeah, I would take that same opportunity here. And we're going to draft Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace to Bean. All right. We're in round 4. Now, here, I'm probably going to just double up on certain positions. I did not expect for Joshua Farmer, my cousin, to be here at this point. But if you watched enough of Florida State, this is a name that you saw a lot. And defensive interior tackles getting sacks is a good thing, right? 17 hurries this year, 3 quarterback hits, 6 sacks, always in the backfield. Not the best run defender, but this is one of those guys that in rotation could potentially become someone that we coveted this year. Who was that someone? Milton Williams. This could be your next version of that, possibly, with development. But again, a class this deep, in previous classes, you probably wouldn't see a Joshua Farmer here. He probably would go, in multiple mocks that I've had, he's been all over the place. I've seen him as high as late second, and now he's way down here in the 4th, right? But I'm probably taking a flyer on him at this point because, like I said, I'm more interested in what I believe he can become long-term versus what he already is, because if I've already got players in position, and I do think some of these players that we brought in, guys like Turk going to be a real deal. So when we were talking earlier about taking Tet, I think we still have to, I'm pretty comfortable saying this, and maybe y'all aren't, but I'm pretty comfortable saying that if we were to go back into next season with what we did on offense going into the last 4 or 5 games of the season and what we did on defense, with the players that we upgraded to. Now, I know most of y'all wouldn't want to hear this because you would want to get much better, and the draft is going to give us that opportunity. But you can't tell me that with Derek Brown coming back, with a healthy full year of Jadeveon Clowney and, what's my man's name? Oh, gosh. I'm running my man that we brought in from Minnesota, from via South Carolina. It'll come to me. Y'all help me out in the chat. But a healthy year from him. Bringing in Turk, bringing in Bobby. You can't tell me that just what we've done in free agency alone hasn't improved this defense from an F to at least a C-. Far from an A, but a C- I'm willing to give that, right? So what we're doing now is just adding more pieces to the puzzle that could potentially turn it from a C- into maybe a B-, right? I think we're far off from an A, but you don't know how any of these guys are going to develop. You don't know how any of these guys are going to come back second year. I said that before. Who knows what's going to happen? They know now. They're starting to know now. Like I saw a video of guys training and working out, right? They're back at the facility. When these guys leave for an off season and they go do their training, right? When they come back, the coaching staff, this draft is going to be predicated a lot too on what they saw from their offseason program. That man, you see how big that dude came back? Man, you see how lean he came back? Goodness. Man, you see that? See how he moving now? See that agility? See that awareness? I saw a video of Xavier Leggett boxing. People going crazy like, man, he should be on a jugs machine. Hey, man, look. What is more impactful than hand-eye coordination and learning that than boxing? Not much, right? So that's going to help him. Yeah, the jugs machine is going to help. He can get a lot of that. You don't think Xavier Leggett's going to get a lot of jugs machine opportunities in OTAs, mini camp, training camp, preseason? Of course. And all season long. And probably been doing that all off season. But I don't need to necessarily see it. I just need to know that you're training, right? And who am I to say that? You know what I'm saying? But it's not for me. It's for the coaching staff. But I guarantee you when they're looking at it, they're like, yo, man. And, I mean, you can see it. Like, Xavier Leggett is a physical specimen, right? So if he gets that down, I said that before, that catch, if he makes that catch against Philly, he is an absolute rock star. So, and I'm sure he knows that. So there's going to be a lot of work put into that. But anyway, we're taking Joshua Farmer here, and we're moving right along. Next up, this is where it's going to get controversial. We're in the 5th round. In every single draft that I've done, I have taken this guy, and then I saw a video that I'm going to play in just a second that allowed me to back up my belief about this pick. And It's crazy. I don't even know why, it was controversial in the beginning when I was doing it, but it's not so controversial now because Smitty had the same exact, I guess, points that I had about Jimmy Horn Jr. I always felt like Jimmy Horn Jr. probably would have fared better if he had stayed at UCF. Because when he came to Colorado, yes, he was able to put his talent on display on a national stage, more of a national stage, but he got buried by targets to the person who was the emphasis of the offense, being Travis Hunter. And I think this kid has something. And look, I get it. Many of y'all would looking, some of y'all, funny about Smitty and his picks on receiver, because of what we've seen with Mingo or Marshall. But for every Mingo or Marshall, you also got to count in Cooper Kupps. You also got to count in, many other receivers, DJ Moore, who he believed in for us. You know what I'm saying? Like other guys that he called, Jalen Coker being a guy that he highlighted a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like somehow Jalen Coker still ended up with us. Somehow he got cut and he cleared waivers and we brought him back, which scares me a little bit if I'm being honest about the front office decisions, if I'm just being honest. So for everyone that you would say that he flamed out on, boy, he got a lot of them right. And I'm hoping that this is one of those ones that he gets right because one of the things that we talk about more than anything, even if you didn't get Ted McMillan, even if you did get a Jaden Higgins, even if you did go get a Kyle Williams, what you need is a game breaker. I want to know, and one of the things that Smitty is going to say here that I really love is talking about when he was at the pro day. Now, granted, they were at the pro day for who else? Shador, right? They're at the pro day for Shador. They're at the pro day for Travis or whatever. But he stood out. And Smitty's on the sideline kind of giving him pointers, and he's taking that in. Okay, cool. Man, we have seen guys, Antonio Brown, come in as a special teamer, end up, would be Hall of Famer. Steve Smith, come in as a special teamer, end up Hall of Honor, will be Hall of Fame at some point. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that you have a kid that's willing to take this kind of coaching, hey, man, you get this guy coached up right, this is the kind of guy that has the kind of speed, that Tank Dell kind of stuff, where you always got to account for him on the field. Smaller size, yes, but it ain't too many people going to be able to run with him at all.
Jimmy Horn Jr., pretty impressed with him, and draft is only a couple of weeks away. So I can tell you right now, you seeing the breakdowns that we're doing, Jimmy Horn Jr. is in my top 15.
Ooh.
Why?
This is after the showcase. This is
after the showcase.
Saw firsthand.
He's leapfrogged. He's moved up. Jimmy Horn Jr. did not get a lot of targets because the main focal point of that offense, especially with the bad offensive line play, was Travis Hunter. But Jimmy Horn is smooth, got some speed to him. He can run, he can catch, had quiet footwork, no false steps, rolled into his routes like you're supposed to run into your routes. His spacing between lead foot and back foot, ideal, no false movement. I was pretty impressed. Looking at his routes in person, moved up. He moved up big time for me.
I've been on it since the beginning, man. Not to try to be like I'm like, but it's just some players you just see. There's a kid in USC coming out next year, Zachariah Branch. It's different. This was the stuff. If y'all remember the I Am Athlete, and I can have firsthand account of this because of my brother being in college playing football around the same time, and he played against the University of Florida when Cam was there. But when Cam was going through the gamut, and they were running through the gamut of all the players that they played, with in college and how stacked that Florida team was. And Cam was even talking about receivers like all time in college. There was one name they kept coming back to, man, Percy Harvin. And I remember that. I remember Percy Harvin in Seattle. And I remember how he would give people fits in Seattle. Now, am I saying Jimmy Horn Jr. is Percy Harvin? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that guys that operate like that with that kind of speed, you have to account for them because they can change a game in a millisecond. I can remember, like I said, I remember my brother telling me, yo, man, I've never seen anything as fast as, and it's like, I played against a lot of people. I've never seen anybody move like Percy Harvin. Like, it's like and especially with his height and size, how small he was. he would get away from you so fast because you just couldn't see him. In addition to the speed. So, yeah, for me, this is one of those ones that's just like, yo, I know it's a reach here. PFF's going to give me an absolute F on this grade. I don't care. I'm taking Jimmy Horn Jr. right here. So, cry about it, argue, whatever. That's where I'm going. All right, 2 picks left. Now, this is where it's just literally going to be BPA for me. Another center, we could go in that direction. I would probably tend to go possibly another safety, just to have more safety help. I do like, however, Damani Richardson. I think Damani Richardson is going to benefit like tremendously from, obviously Trayvon Moehrig is going to be the guy, right? But remember when I was saying guys that leave in the offseason and come back different? There were a few times last year, 2 players in specific. The linebacker, I just said his name earlier, Jacoby Wyndham and Damani Richardson. Those are 2 guys, and I'm really interested to see commentary. I plan on being at training camp this year, so I want to see, for myself personally, I'm interested to see these guys' development. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are 2 guys that, to me, like, showed some flashes last year of some potential, especially Wyndham especially. He showed some, like, great potential, right? Which is another reason why the whole Jalen Walker thing, man. Like, I'm not going to bet on Jacoby Wyndham becoming, somebody. But again, when we're talking about development, you're pulling snaps away from him. You're pulling snaps away from Wallace. You're not going to pull snaps away from Josie Jewell. So if he's not your dedicated edge, then, what are we doing? But, hey, there's much smarter men that are doing this than I will ever be. So I'll let them figure that out. But for me, no. So here, I'm probably going with another tackle. Chase Lunt is a name that I see higher on some draft boards, lower on others. Who knows where we're headed with Taylor Moton in the next couple of years. I would love to keep Taylor Moton around. I think Taylor Moton should be a lifelong Panther. I think he should be our Jonathan Ogden. I think he should be our Lane Johnson, excuse me. But I don't know what their plans are. So I would not get rid of him, but I'm going to take Chase Lunt here just because I would like to have somebody in the building that I can continue to develop to become the next version of potentially what Timo is, right? Now, is he going to be that? Maybe not. Probably not. More than likely not. But I'm taking him because I want somebody that can be there to fill, that position. So I got one more pick left. And again, I'm going offensive line yet again. Actually, you know what? No, right here I probably would go running back. So I'm going to see what running backs are available. So our Mr. Irrelevant pick would be a running back. I'm not trading, like I said. So let's see who we got. Taj Brooks. Hey, there you go. Doug, if you're there, I'm about to take your boy. This is Taj Brooks. It's one of Doug's personal friends. Doug did a interview with him recently. So, hey, salute to Taj Brooks, buddy. You are a Panther. And with that, that will conclude my mock draft. Let's see what we got. I'm going to take a wild guess and say my grade is probably a B-. And C+. Dang, boy, they killed me. Let's see where they killed me. So they liked the Mike Green pick. They liked the Andrew Makuba pick. Jared Wilson they didn't like. They felt like that was a reach. Where I drafted him, they said they would have drafted Omar Norman Lott. Maybe. Deion Walker was an F. There were times where Deion Walker was a B. Kobe Bryant was a B. Joshua Farmer was a B. I knew Jimmy. It don't matter where I pick Jimmy Horn on here. He's always going to be an F. But again, F that. Y'all can do with, that what you will. But, yeah, I'm taking him. And then Chase Lunt. Bottom 13% of most drafts. I'm sure, and that definitely deserves a laugh. I'm sure if we go back and go through each one of these real drafts, man, that, I'm going to go back through these comments real quick because somebody had posted something and I want to see if I can find Sam's comment real quick. I don't know if Sam is still here. All right. It was the not fan of Ted at all. Volleyball receivers aren't elite anymore because of separation. Let Leggett and Coco draft Walker or Williams. And I think he had also said it was him and Palmetto Panther that said something in regards to, let me see, defense. Let's see. There it is. We just had the worst defense in history. We ain't drafting Ted. Might get Jalen Lane from Virginia, though. Maybe. But this is why I'm not real big on, like, just a absolute gauntlet of a defensive NFL draft. I've said this before. I'll say it again. If we remember, date back to 2020, there was a lot of people we took in that draft. A lot of people who we thought had promise. And it's weird that a lot of our defensive players have not panned out like our offensive players have. Y'all not find that weird? Like, and I don't know what that is. Like, and it's not just the 2020 draft. Like, go back to a few drafts, right? Go back to the 22 draft, like we were talking earlier. Guys like, Big Ten is at their conference. Defensive Player of the Year, Davion Nixon. I think he's playing in the XFL. The XFL now, whatever. Gosh, like, we've had a lot of defensive guys that have just flamed out. And then we've had a lot of offensive guys that have, done pretty well, right? But, like, in that 2020 draft, man, Derek, obviously great pick, right? YGM, and I'm not saying necessarily that they flamed out in general, like, just as players, but they flamed out with us. So clearly there is a discrepancy in the developmental process. I mean, gosh, I used to be able to like rattle that whole draft off just off memory. I'm going to try here, and y'all help me out. I may be wrong on a few. But that 2020 draft, the all-defensive draft, for those who would rather go in that direction, that draft was Derek Brown, YGM, Jeremy Chin. Let's see, after Chin, I want to say Troy Pride Jr. Let's see, Jeremy Chin, Troy Pride Jr., Stanley Thomas Oliver. I think I might have this order mixed up a little bit, but I do know that they were in this draft. Stanley Thomas Oliver, Kenny Robinson, Keith Taylor may have been that draft. Yeah, Keith Taylor was that draft. Bravion Roy, and I may be missing somebody. And then the only other player that I remember that we kept on the roster that was here up until last year was Sam Franklin. And out of all those players that I just mentioned, some of them doing well in other places like Chin in Washington. YGM, I think, went to San Francisco. I don't know if Bravion Roy is still in the league. Keith Taylor was on the roster for Kansas City for a couple of years. May still be. But none of them are here. None of them. Troy Pride Jr. went on to play for New Orleans for a bit. Had a stint with, the Texans, But salute to all those guys, but none of them are here. Y'all don't find that weird, man? Like, not just, and I'm not saying you go draft all offense, of course not. But what I'm saying is that it's just strange that, like, so many of these defensive guys are flaming out. And that wasn't always the case with us. Like, we've had, historically, it's been the opposite. A lot of the guys that we've drafted historically defensively have been the ones that panned out. Guys like Josh Norman, you know what I'm saying? Or Kawan Short, Coney Ely. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've drafted guys in weird spots that have turned out really good. It was always the offensive dudes. Greg Little, the guy we drafted. Now, he went on to have a better career, elsewhere. But then I think we drafted him, and he ended up having a better career. So, in another place. But it's just like, that's why I'm not, like, I would rather be a team that I'm okay with, like, bringing in free agents that will help fill a need. Like, if they decide to not draft like another. Let's just say they go with like one defensive interior lineman, right? I think they'll probably go more than that just for depth's sake, which is why I took Joshua Farmer. But like, if they don't go as deep as we feel like they should in this, I'm not really gonna be all that mad because Bobby's a good player. You know, Turk's a good player. Like, they brought in guys that have had production in other places, and we still have guys here. DJ Wanham is who I was talking about earlier. I'm sorry, I messed up his name, but we still have guys here that are producing. When DJ, if you take, let's just go look at him real quick. If you take DJ Wanham's stats from last year and accumulate them to what he could have done over the course of the entire season, I don't know that we would be so like hell bent on drafting an edge rusher. I think that it would be like, all right, cool if we get him, but if we don't, like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't the greatest production, right? But he was coming off of an injury. But even coming off of that injury, still had 23 solo tackles, 4 sacks, 10 assists. What does that turn into long term? An entire offseason of training not to get healthy, but to improve and to learn a defense that's going to be different than what you came from. Like, so that's something to take into account as well. Or bringing in, you know, if you do draft an edge rusher, now you get to bring Jadeveon Clowney in more of a situational role. He thrived in that in, you know, Baltimore. So I see pluses and minuses from doing all of this, right? But again, I want to just be clear. I talked about this earlier with Ricky and what he does and what they've done, him and Edgar done with the draft. There's so many guys like them that exist in this space. The one thing I love about the Panther space specifically is that you got something for everybody. If you like to cut up and enjoy, you know what I'm saying, and I'm going to do some name dropping. I hope y'all don't mind that. But if you like to cut up and, you know, just have a good time and, you know, just have some talk and just some narrative, you know, whatever like that. And I'm not saying that any of these guys, because I don't watch them enough to be able to know that they're extremely analytical or they know a lot about draft stuff. But like guys like Unc or, you know, PPP, you know what I'm saying? Those are guys I like to listen to when I just want to just, you know, like if I'm chilling with my boys, you know what I'm saying? And we just talking ball. Ain't talking about no draft stuff, whatever like that. Like, even this is new territory for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy doing it just because it's fun. But, man, y'all know I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? For most of this, right? But for me, with what I do, I'm mostly just narrative. I just like stories surrounding the Panthers. I'm just a fan. You know what I'm saying? But I do like listening to other people who are very knowledgeable about what is going on. People like Ricky. People like Dunk. People like PNP. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's somebody for everybody in this space, and I really, really, really enjoy that. That's one thing that's very unique about our space that I don't see in a lot of other places. And I do think that part of that comes from the fact that in a lot of ways, y'all, we all we got. We don't get a lot of national media coverage. So our secondary guys, I mean, salute to Sheena, salute to Vashti, you know what I'm saying? Salute to Julian Council and the others that do, you know, content and are on, you know, I guess syndicated, you know, television networks or whatever. But like beyond them, and one thing I gotta tell you, I love this. I love the fact that like Pat highlights Sheena to talk about this Panthers specifically. I think that's dope because it shines a light on us that we don't always get. But like outside of stuff like that, man, like consistently, man, we all we got. So I love it here, man. You know what I'm saying? And I know y'all do too. I'm as big a fan of what's going on in this space as y'all are. And Doug. I feel like Doug, to me, is the emerging of those guys that I just talked about. Doug is next in line to be that guy that you go to if you want to know any and everything about draft specifics, player development, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be your guy. We've linked up before. Going to link up again for sure. That's my man. And Doug different, man. It's like with Doug, it's beyond just the content. This a good brother, a good friend. You know what I'm saying? Someone I call a friend. Yeah. So salute to my guy, Doug. But I'm not going to be here much longer, man. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. Like I said, I do plan on coming back. I do think I'm going to go live draft night because I'm just fascinated to see what happens. I'm probably going to have, you know, the phone line open, probably going to have the link drop, so it'll be more than just myself here. I'm as excited as y'all. I don't know what I'm going to feel, so I'm going to save that for if it happens or when it happens. I'll tell you this, though. If there's a world that exists where we draft Tet, man, I'm cutting up on this app. But if we don't, cool. If we draft Jalen Walker, then it'll be like, watching your favorite bracket tournament and knowing exactly who was going to make it to the Final Four. Because, I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion by, in most draft boards. But if we draft Mikal Williams, I'm going to be literally on my page going to other people's pages to watch their reaction. Like, I'm literally going to be looking at X to see what people are saying, because I feel like the Mikal Williams one is what's going to break Panther Twitter and Panther, YouTube, whatever else, right? But either way, we'll see. Once again, man, I appreciate y'all for being here. Thank y'all for watching the channel. Thank you for all your support. Again, you get a chance, go to penaltyverdict.com, fill out the waiting list for that app to drop, which is going to drop really soon. It's going to be really cool. Check out some of the people that were in the chat with me today. Check out What's Up Doug's channel. Check out Mike Rick's channel. Check out my man Lowe with the pregame podcast. We did a podcast recently. I'm going to drop some clips from that pretty soon. But yeah, man, it's been another one, y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming through. I appreciate y'all taking the time with me. And I will see y'all on Thursday night. Until then, y'all, keep pounding.